What is good, all of you beautiful people out there? And we are going to be ranking every single Liyue character in Genshin Impact so far. Now, I know the last time I did a tier list was Mondstadt's, which was 2 years ago. And in that time, 2 other new Mondstadt characters got added. And one of them being Varka, which I absolutely love Varka. And the other one being Dahlia, which I don't really know too much about or don't really care. So there's that. So we are going to go through all of the characters in Liyue so far and rank them. Now, I will say, just to throw it out there, that I'm ranking these characters based on 2 factors combined. Gameplay, how good they are playing, and personality-wise, and that'll kind of mesh together in my own thought process going onto this tier list. But with that being said, let's get started. Well, fancy here. Look at the tier list. Look at all these characters. Looks great. All right, who do we start with, honestly? Well, I guess probably like start from the top and then we'll go from there. So Beidou, starting off with Beidou being electric claymore user. Kind of surprised that she has so much lore behind her, that she has did she fight like a sea monster of some kind and is a captain of a ship and is yet a 4-star character. I would probably put her in B tier. I'd probably put her in B tier. The reason why I put her there is because her playstyle is kind of slow and clunky, but I will say she's one of the more unique characters, you know, with her elemental skill being able to counter enemy attacks and then dish out the damage. So I find she's one of the more cool, unique characters in the game, even being one of the oldest, but still holding up. I feel like she puts out good damage if you build her right. I definitely have had fun with her, but I've kind of strayed away just because she's just kind of slow to me now. She's still good, but just kind of meh. But I will put her in B because I do like her. She's one of the homies. She's dope. I like her. I like her though. Just gonna preface that I like her. Anyway, going down the line. Moving on to Chongyun. Now, Chongyun, I'm actually going to put him in A tier. I think a big reason why I put him in A tier is because he, not only as a character, he's super friendly and he's super chill, but also the main gimmick or the combat he has is that he has cryo infusion. So he can use his elemental skill, slam his claymore into the ground, but infuse not only himself, but other characters. So the other characters on your team also have infused cryo for a limited time. And that's why I kind of like him more than Diluc when it comes to infusion, because Diluc can use his burst, but it's like only he's infused with pyro. But Chongyun, he infuses everyone, so you could swap to a different character and they can use cryo, which is cool. So for a 4-star, honestly, he's a pretty good team. If you were to put him on like freeze teams with other hydro units, I think he's pretty dope. Now, moving down the line with Yangfei, I have no beef with her. I have no issues. And she is a pyro catalyst user, so she deals pyro damage. But I never really felt an attachment with her. I think a character in the story, she's awesome. She's not annoying or rude or stuck up. Like, she's fine. She's honestly an interesting, cool, character. But I feel like her combat just doesn't really speak to me. I find her boring. That's the thing. I find her pretty darn boring, but she's a pyro catalyst, so in terms of reaction team, she could be pretty good. But honestly, it just doesn't suit my playstyle. Moving on to Gaming. I feel like Gaming is one of the better 4-star characters in Liyue. Honestly, if you manage to pull this guy, I would absolutely recommend building him, because honestly, he deals some pretty good damage in terms of what he can do. Like his elemental skill and then his burst does like a slam attack, and he's a claymore user. So honestly, you build him right, you put him in a good team, he can dish out pretty darn good damage, really good numbers. And honestly, he's a good-looking character, and again, he's one of the homies. There's some characters in Genshin that you just don't like, and then there's others like Gaming, where, you know, he's a dope dude. I like him a lot. Now moving on with Baizhu. This guy, is a jack of all trades. I'm putting him in A tier. The jack of all trades. He can heal. He has a shield. And he's a Dendro Catalyst user. That is pretty darn good. That is awesome to have all those three qualities in one character, because you can put him in a Dendro team with Bloom and Hyper Bloom, but then also having that shielded protection, but also having a healer on your team as well. Because I feel like a lot of teams I've noticed that people use, especially in the meta, are more so like, okay, you have these powerful characters, put them all together in a team, and none of them heal. And a lot of people is just like, well, you do fast damage, you obviously don't need to heal. But it's like, I'm a filthy casual. And as a casual, I always like to have a healer on my team. And I have not built Baiju fully yet, but I've seen videos and kind of the potential that he's got. So at some point I want to build him. And the fact that this guy was the very first Dendro character, not playable, mind you, but the very first Dendro character, makes him a little bit more special to me. Moving on with Yao Yao. Again, really falls in the category of Yang Fei. It's just like, I don't hate her in any way, shape, or form, but she's kind of one of those characters that I just didn't really have an attachment to. She's just kind of, she's there. She's another Dendro character. She's a healer. I don't know how good she is. I'm assuming, well, I actually don't even know how easy to build her is. How easy to build her. I don't really have much opinions, but I don't hate her. You know, she is a homie towards Chi-Chi, you know, and that's something I really like, because Chi-Chi can honestly use more friends. And speaking of Chi-Chi, yay! Where do we put Chi-Chi, buddy? Oh man, I know everyone loses their 50-50s on Chi-Chi. So if I'm going to be fair in my personal experience with Chi-Chi, I would have to put her in B tier. Why would I put her so high? You know, why would I put her so high? I don't know. The way I've built Chi-Chi is with the Sea Foam artifact set. So it's like increase her attack, like max it out or as much as you can. And then with the Sea Foam bubble things with the set, it does like bursts of damage and whatnot. That's the way I use her. Chi-Chi is not necessarily the greatest healer, but I wouldn't say she's like the worst character or a bad 5-star. There's definitely other 5 stars that would heal better or do damage better, but honestly, I would say Chi-Chi is not a waste. You know, honestly, she heals pretty decently well, has with her elemental skill able to heal and also put on cryo, so also there's that for reactions. Overall, she is not a bad character if you do manage to pull for her or accidentally lose your 50-50. Now moving on to Xingqiu. Hopefully I said his name right. Xingqiu, S tier. Oh my goodness, this dude is amazing. I would recommend building this guy. I would recommend him so much. He's just, I love him. He's like, the Hydra application that this guy does is so great for teams. Like for either Dendro teams or Electro teams. He's awesome. Like his burst is so good. It really works well. Like for example, he works well with say Chongyun. So Chongyun can, you know, infuse his weapons with cryo, and then you use Xingqiu's burst, and that's hydro and cryo at the same time. You're gonna freeze enemies. Or you can use a different cryo character. I don't know. But like he's such a great character that fits in so many variety of teams. Like, I really like how nice. I like how he's easy to put together. Like, he's not like extremely easy to build, but I just feel like you just slap energy recharge on him and have his burst always on, and he just fits well. And he also has a Fontaine-like skin, so even if you are free to play, it's definitely nice to have an option that this guy gets a cool looking skin, because he deserves it, because he's a great character. Yun Jin. I have nothing against her. I'm putting her in D tier. I have nothing against her, but she's kind of one of those characters that I don't fully understand, and I just don't bother with knowing how she works. Apparently, like, she boosts her team somehow with her elemental skill. Again, that's not fair. That's not fair to disrespect on a character. Gameplay-wise, I know nothing about her. However, I think her hangout, with the 4-star hangout that you get, I think her hangout was really, really fun. She's a very charming character. She was a very fun character to talk to and get to know. So honestly, personality-wise, she is, again, one of the homies. But gameplay-wise, it just does not really appeal to me. Sorry, bro. Moving on to Zhongli. We're just gonna put this guy on the very top. We're just gonna put him there, S tier. I want to tell you, Zhongli, at the moment, Zhongli is my #1 favorite Genshin Impact character, slightly behind Capitano. And the reason why I like Zhongli is because I'm a pansy. I like to be shielded at all times. This guy has been on my team for the longest time. I started in, I think, 1.2 or 1.2, I think. And as soon as I got Zhongli, as soon as I had him, he never left my team. He was always on my team. I would swap between 3 different characters every single time, but Zhongli was one that has not left me for the longest time. And I still use him quite a lot, especially with Lunar Crystallize going around. He does great with Lunar Crystallize. Yeah, I'm a little bit upset that he didn't get a skin, that he didn't get that sort of funky Archon skin that was kind of teased at one point. But I feel like none of the Archons really have like a skin change, so maybe they'll do something, a special event in the future. I don't know, but overall, Zhongli, I love the boy. He's amazing, and if you get him, build him. He's amazing. I already said that, but seriously, he's amazing. Next up, Yelan, and I'm putting her up in S tier as well. She's basically a 5-star equivalent to Xingqiu. She has great hydro application, great hydro damage, and her skill being able to like run around, like in like sneaky, and then latching onto enemies, and then when you're done, then activates like a bunch of hydro damage. I feel like she, again, is a great character in terms of teams. Her power, her versatility, she's an amazing character. So I would honestly recommend building her as well. Ganyu. Now, this one's an interesting one. Ganyu, this is bad. But she's going in the same boat as Beidou and Chi-Chi. I think she's a strong character. She absolutely is. With the right team, the right build, and the right weapon, she is a great character. She deals a lot of big damage, and a lot of people still do use her. But she has kind of been power crept in terms of power, but also in terms of like speed, because you have to like draw her bow, wait for that charge up to go, unless you have her at like C6 or something. I don't know if that does anything, most likely, but I have just C0 Ganyu, and she deals big dummy damage, but just kind of at a slow pace. So if you like bow characters and if you like Ganyu, then go for it, full power to you. But to me, the reason I'm just putting her a few tiers lower than S tier is just because she's slow. She's just slow. So that's a little bit of a bummer, I don't know I wonder if Genshin will do like a sort of Hexen Zirkel type thing for Liyue characters next time, because I feel like Mondstadt characters definitely needed buffs, but I feel like, some of these other Liyue characters could use a bit of a buff. And speaking of that, I'm gonna get this character out of the way. I have to get this character out of the way. Oh, my mouse, come on. If I pronounce her name, Xingyang. I'm sorry, buddy. She is, again, she's one of the homies. She is such a kind character, and I like her Western accent, but her kit is bad. She's just not fun. She's just not interesting. Like, yes, she can cook up a pyro shield, and then her burst does like rock and roll, like pyro damage. But honestly, there's just so many other characters that would do it better. than she does. In my opinion, if I were to pick out like the most forgettable Genshin Impact character, she would probably be one of them. And I'm sorry, it's just like, I think her design is cool, but it's just, she's just not really good. Like, I'm sorry. So I'm putting, I don't hate you, but you're on the bottom because you're just not the greatest. I'm sorry. Now, moving on to Shen Yun. Hopefully I said that right. Shen Yun. The crane bird adeptus lady. Now, I'll put her in A tier. I feel like she works great in a team with Veressa or with any character that does plunge damage really, really well. You know, I think she is great in terms of that. And then using her burst, giving people that jumping power, and then constantly healing them is also amazing. So you get her with like the 4-piece VV with giving more swirl damage, but also giving her enough energy recharge. She could be a great character for any characters that would work well with plunge attacks, such as maybe like Eula or specifically Diluc, or like I said, Veressa. But any other team, she just doesn't really work well. But I will say, she's a homie in the story. She's a great character, a great mother to Ganyu and Shenhe, and her traversal, her jumping ability is very handy. So if you manage to accidentally get her, she's a great character. I'd recommend building her if you get her. And just since I mentioned Shenhe, I'm gonna put Shenhe up on the list. And I would say she's tough if I'd want to put her in B or C. Because the thing with Shenhe is that I would not recommend pulling for Shenhe if you don't have a cryo DPS. If you don't have a cryo character that does continuous like cryo damage, such as like maybe Ayaka, Chongyun, or Wriothesley even, you know? Because she buffs cryo characters. Yeah, sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart there. No, she buffs cryo characters really well. She works great in a cryo team. Oh yeah, Skirk could also work. But if you don't have that, I wouldn't recommend pulling for Shenhe, because she's just not useful in any other kind of teams. Unless you build her in some weird shape or form that works. But to me personally, nah, she's not a character I'd recommend pulling if you don't have a cryo DPS. That's just me. She's still one of the homies. I like her. Now moving on with Xiao, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do that to him. I was gonna put him in C. I was gonna put him there only because there's just so many other characters that kind of power creep him. But he is not the greatest Animo character out there. He's not the worst, but he's definitely not the greatest. He kind of gets outshined by even maybe some other 4-star Animo characters that could honestly do it better or have more versatility. But Xiao just doesn't really synergize much with too many people, you know? It's just kind of like he's Animo with Swirl. So, you know, there's that. And also his burst gives him the super jump, similar to what, like, Shen Yun does. But, honestly, he's just not the greatest character anymore. But to any people that still use him, go for it. He's still a solid character, but there's other characters that perform better than he does now, unfortunately. Zhengling, moving on to the cook lady, putting her in S tier. There's not much to really say about her. Her burst is amazing. You can slap her onto any team. You can slap any pole arm onto her and she'll do big damage. She can fit in so many good teams in terms of like pyro reactions, you know, whether it be like melt or vaporize or anything like that. Like, she is amazing. Honestly, having that fiery like disc circling other people, she's Honestly, probably one of the best 4 stars in the game, alongside like Bennett and even Xingqiu. I'd say that if you get her, build her. She's amazing. She'll carry your team. She'll carry your run. She is awesome. She's awesome in terms of elemental reactions. Yeah. Keqing, one of the standard Bennett characters, just like Chi-Chi. Keqing's going in A tier. I wouldn't say she's S tier. She's not S tier. But I think as a character in terms of regular elemental reactions, she's fine. But ever since the introduction of Dendro, she has just gone up. Like, dude, you get a Hyper Bloom team with like a Dendro and a Hydro character on your team. She deals a lot of big damage. She has Electro Infusion with her elemental skill, so then her sword can deal like electro damage, and so then elemental reactions kick in, and she does big damage, especially like I said with Dendro. She's amazing in Dendro teams, straight up. And again, she's one of those characters that is fine in terms of personality. She's a good character. I would definitely recommend her. And I'm really glad she's on the standard banner. So if anyone says, if you pull for her accidentally, lose your 50-50, if you get her, build her. She's an amazing Electro character. I would even say, like, Raiden Shogun is better than Keqing, but not to like a large margin or like blows it out of proportion. Keqing is still a really solid pick. Moving on with Ningguang. C tier. Yeah, I find like she is very clunky. She is a Geo Catalyst user, and again, Geo is not necessarily the strongest element in the game. There is Lunar Crystallize, and we'll get to that with the final character, but Ningguang just isn't good in much teams, and I find her playstyle very, very clunky. She just feels slow. It just doesn't feel, I feel like she's gorgeous and majestic, and the way her attacks like go are so cool. Like she looks cool. She looks powerful, but it doesn't feel powerful. She just does not lay out the big numbers. Or well, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be big numbers, but at least like enough to actually take down enemies. But again, on Lunar Crystallized teams, she is pretty good. Moving on with Hu Tao. Yeah, we're just gonna go like this. Just gonna put that there. Nope. You'd be like, why? Well, I think she's a fine DPS. You know, Pyro Infusion with her pole arm, and she deals pretty big damage on the right teams. But I'm not putting her there because she like gets power crept. No. She is, I don't like her. Just straight up. Personality-wise, character-wise, within the story, I don't like her. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. I would full on say it, like, leave Chi-Chi alone for Pete's sake. I know you have good intentions, but the way that you come across, bub, you stink. Like, you suck. Like, no offense, man. Like, and I know that like her backstory is kind of bad, but she kind of hides all of her frustration behind a smile, and that just kind of like, I don't like that when characters do that. I kind of like characters that I want them to be real. I want them to be upfront, you know, or at least not put on a facade, you know. That's just me. And I could be wrong in certain aspects. I would like to see if anyone leaves any comments. Let me know 100%. I don't like her. Straight up don't. No. Moving on. Lanyan, I think is her name. I'd put her in B tier. I think like maybe she is higher. I haven't used her much, but already that she's basically Animo Keqing, and she can conjure up a shield as well. So I think that's cool that they add another 4-star similar to Keqing, but also then able to shield your allies. We barely got to know her within like the events or the story, but she seems pretty chill. Like there's nothing really negative about her that I can say. She's a good character. So, you know, she's good. She's solid. I should probably use her more. And finally, the latest Liyue character, more of a moon sign. Zabai, the Horsadeptus. We're just gonna plop you there right on S tier. Her, she is, yeah, she can cook up those lunar crystallize reactions. She is a pretty good character in terms of that. She is another character similar to Navia that she kind of brings back Geo to an extent, you know? Like, she is very much so, you know, powerful in terms of elemental reactions. You pair her with like Hydro characters and then maybe another Geo character, and she does big damage. So like, that's why Zhongli with the pillars of constant Geo, then you could just have Hydro, and then Zabai can also then be there and do those reactions and then get that lunar crystallize up and running. So that's what I'm saying, like, even Ningguang can do big damage because of Zabai, or Columbina with, again, lunar crystallize. So overall, yeah, Zabai is definitely a really powerful character. I will say one big thing, she is strong and she is good. She feels clunky to me. I will say that. Kind of looking at like the bar that you're doing normal combat and then you use her elemental skill and does like that horse smash attack is kind of funky to me. But it's like, I'm getting used to it. But overall, no, she's a pretty good character. So, yeah. And there we are. That is my tier list for all of the Liyue characters so far. And I know guaranteed down the line in the future, we may get another one, maybe 2 more. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? But for now, yeah, this is my list. Thank you so much for watching. This was a long overdue video, and hopefully I can get into Inazuma a little bit more sooner. I've been kind of getting into the mood to do these type of tier lists, and hopefully I won't ramble as long and kind of get to the points faster. But yeah, I love Genshin Impact and still playing up to this point, especially up to Nodcry. Yeah, so I'm really excited to do that. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Click like, subscribe, do all that jazz, or don't do that. I can't force you. And as always, you have a good day.